There is a clock ticking in New York City that no one really wants to look at, because it isn't counting time. It is counting down to an economic heart attack. For decades, we treated the national debt like a joke, a scoreboard for politicians to argue over, a meaningless number that just kept going up without any real consequences. But in the last 12 months, the joke stopped being funny. The math has officially broken. We have entered what economists call the death spiral. According to the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee, the United States is now adding over $2 trillion in debt every single year. By April 2026, which is terrifyingly close, that number is projected to hit $39 trillion. Let me put that number into perspective for you. If you spent $1 million every single day since the birth of Jesus, you wouldn't even be close to 1 trillion yet. We are at 39, and we are accelerating. The media tells you this is just politics as usual. They will talk about budgets and ceilings, but they are lying. Or maybe they just don't want to panic you, because the people in charge, the people who actually understand the plumbing of the global financial system, they know exactly what is happening. The current financial system is mathematically guaranteed to collapse. It is not an if, it is a when, and while they distract you with culture wars, they are quietly preparing 3 desperate options to save the system. Option 1, default and crash the world economy. Option 2, hyperinflation, destroying the middle class to save the government. Or option 3, the secret option, a plan so controversial, so radical, that it has Russia and China absolutely terrified. A plan to merge the dying dollar with gold and with crypto. Today, we aren't just looking at the debt. We are looking at the escape plan, because the clock is ticking, and you need to know what happens when it hits 0. The segment 1, the interest trap. Let's start with the boring part, the math. I know, math isn't sexy, but in this case, the math is the scariest horror movie you will ever watch. For a long time, the United States had a superpower. It could borrow money for free. Interest rates were at 0. It was like having a credit card with no APR. You could spend whatever you wanted. But then, inflation hit, and the Federal Reserve had to raise rates to fight it. And suddenly, the interest bill on that massive pile of debt exploded. Here is a fact that should keep you awake at night. Right now, today, the US government spends more money paying interest on its debt than it spends on the entire national defense budget. Think about that. We spend more paying off bondholders than we do on the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines combined. It is the second largest line item in the entire federal budget, and soon it will be number 1. Imagine if you ran your household like this. Imagine if your credit card payment was bigger than your rent, bigger than your food budget, bigger than your car payment. You would be bankrupt. But countries are different, right? Countries can just print more money. Well, yes. But that is where the trap snaps shut, because if you print money to pay the debt, you cause more inflation. If you cause more inflation, interest rates have to go up. And if interest rates go up, the debt gets even more expensive. It is a loop, a doom loop, and we are currently spinning inside it. Segment 2, the fake solutions. So, what do the politicians do? They get on TV, they put on their serious faces, and they offer solutions. But let's be honest, these aren't solutions. They are fantasies. First, what they say, we need to tax the rich. It sounds good, it plays well on Twitter, but let's do the math again. If you confiscated 100% of the wealth of every billionaire in America, literally took every penny Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos own, it would fund the government for maybe a few months. It doesn't make a dent. The deficit is in the trillions. The billionaires only have billions. Then, the other side says we need to cut spending. Okay, great idea, but here is the catch. 70% of the US budget is mandatory. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and interest on the debt. If you cut those, you have grandmas starving. You have hospitals closing. You have riots in the streets. It is political suicide. No politician will ever vote for it. So, you can't tax your way out, and you can't cut your way out. And you can't grow your way out, because the debt is growing faster than the economy. So, what is left? This is where it gets dark. Segment 3, the silent default. If you owe $1 trillion and you can't pay it back, and you can't declare bankruptcy, what do? You cheat. You change the value of the money you owe. This is called financial repression, or inflation. The government essentially wants inflation. Think about it. If I owe you $100, and next year, thanks to inflation, $100 only buys a cup of coffee, then it is really easy for me to pay you back. I pay you back in worthless paper. This is the unwritten policy of the United States government. They are trying to inflate the debt away. But this isn't a victimless crime. Who pays for it? You do. You pay for it at the grocery store. You pay for it when you try to buy a house. You pay for it when your savings account loses value every single year. Inflation is a tax that no one voted for. It is a slow-motion default on the American people. But here is the problem with that plan. The rest of the world isn't stupid. They see what is happening. They know the dollar is being diluted. They know the game is rigged. And this is why the geopolitical sharks are circling. Segment 4, the revolt of the East. For the last 50 years, the US dollar was king. It was the world reserve currency. If China wanted to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they had to use US dollars. It gave America immense power. It meant we could print money, and the rest of the world would absorb it. But that era is ending. Countries like China, Russia, and the BRICS nations, they are actively dumping US debt. They have stopped buying treasuries. Instead, they are buying something else, gold. Central banks bought more gold in the last 2 years than at any time in history. China is hoarding it. Russia is hoarding it. Why? Because gold is the only asset that you can't print. They are preparing for the dollar to collapse. They are betting that the US will destroy its own currency with this debt spiral, and they want to be holding real assets when the music stops. It is a vote of no confidence in the United States. And normally, this would be the end of the story. The empire crumbles, the currency fails, a new power rises, but the United States might have one final card to play, an ace up its sleeve that no one saw coming. Hey, really quickly, if you are following this rabbit hole, if you are starting to see the pieces of the puzzle fit together, please take a second to hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm show this video to more people who need to understand where the economy is going. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, consider subscribing. Okay, let's talk about the secret plan. Segment 5, the pivot. Imagine you are the United States. You are cornered. The debt is 39 trillion. Interest payments are suffocating you. China and Russia are betting against you. How do you checkmate them? You change the board. For the last 50 years, the dollar was backed by faith and credit, which is a fancy way of saying trust us. But trust is evaporating. So, there is a growing whisper in Washington. A rumor that started on the fringes but has moved into the halls of Congress. A strategic Bitcoin reserve. Yes, you heard that exactly right. Senators, and even former presidents, have discussed the US government holding Bitcoin as a strategic asset, right alongside its 8,000 tons of gold. Now, strip away the hype. Forget the crypto bros and the memes. Look at this from a purely geopolitical strategy perspective. Bitcoin is a neutral asset. No one controls it. You can't inflate it. There will only ever be 21 million. If the US government officially decides to print dollars, which are infinite, to buy Bitcoin, which is finite, what happens? Two things. First, the price of Bitcoin goes to the moon, obviously. But second, and this is the key, the US balance sheet suddenly looks incredibly strong. Instead of being a nation drowning in debt, it becomes the nation holding the most valuable collateral on earth. It is a way to re-peg the dollar to the digital age. It is a way to say to the world, our currency isn't just paper. It is backed by the future of finance. Segment 6, the superdollar theory. This is the part that sounds like science fiction, but listen closely. Because the legislation is already being written, there are proposals for the Federal Reserve to hold Bitcoin. There are proposals to treat it like gold. If the US government holds, let's say, 5% of the global Bitcoin supply, and Bitcoin goes to $1 million a coin, or 5 million, suddenly, That $39 trillion debt, it doesn't look so scary anymore because the assets on the books balance it out. This effectively steals the gold standard idea from China and modernizes it. Russia and China are trying to build a lifeboat to escape the dollar by going back to the 19th century, back to gold bars in a vault. But the US might be trying to build a rocket ship. If the US becomes the global hub for crypto, if Wall Street controls the ETFs, if the government holds the reserve, then the dollar doesn't die. It evolves. It becomes the super dollar. And China and Russia, they would be left holding heavy bars of metal while the global economy moves onto a digital rail owned by the United States. It is a high-risk gamble. But when you are $39 trillion in the hole, you don't have safe options left. Segment 7. The danger. But then wait. Before we get too excited about this digital savior, we have to ask, is this actually a good thing? Because there is a dark side to this plan. If the government embraces crypto, they will want to control it. They will want to regulate it. They will want to track it. We are already seeing the crackdown on privacy. The same technology that offers freedom can also be used for total surveillance. If the solution to the debt crisis is a digital dollar or a central bank digital currency linked to these reserves, then we might solve the debt problem. But we might lose our financial privacy in the process. It is the classic deal with the devil: safety in exchange for freedom. The government saves the economy, but they gain total visibility into every penny you spend. Conclusion: the end of the beginning. So, where does that leave us? We started this video talking about a clock in New York City, a machine counting numbers that are too big for the human brain to truly comprehend. But we have to remember, that clock isn't really counting money. It is counting time. It is counting down the time remaining for a financial system that has ruled the world for 80 years. We are standing at a massive historical crossroads. Down one path is the status quo. We keep printing, we keep borrowing, we keep pretending the math works, and eventually, the wheel falls off. We get hyperinflation. The dollar collapses, and we enter a chaotic depression that makes 2008 look like a picnic. Down the other path is the great pivot. The path where the US government finally admits the old system is broken, where they embrace hard assets, gold, Bitcoin, real commodities. They stabilize the currency, but the world changes. The financial system becomes something new, something we don't fully understand yet. I can't tell you for certain which path we will take, but I can tell you this: the debt is still growing. The geopolitical sharks are circling, and the people in charge are running out of options. We are living through the end of an era, and the scary part isn't the change itself. It's that most people won't realize the change has happened until they look at their bank account and realize their money doesn't mean what it used to. The only question left is, when the switch is finally flipped, will you be holding the asset of the past or the asset of the future? This is a heavy topic, and honestly, it's a story that is still being written. If you want to understand how we got here, how the US dollar became the king of the world in the first place, you need to watch my previous video. It explains the rise before the fall. It's on the screen right now. And listen, if you found value in this deep dive, if it made you think, please hit the like button. It helps us bypass the algorithm and get this information to people who need to hear it. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve as this crisis unfolds, make sure you are subscribed. Thanks for watching. Keep your eyes open, and I'll see you in the next one.